What's up, real world climbers? We're back in the build out process in the giant barn shed. This is real world climbing headquarters number 6 in collaboration with Jack. And today's video is going to be about transitions and just little odds and ends and kind of the finishing touches. So for us, that's going to incorporate a lot of building out of triangles and building the transitions between this 15 and the 30. Between our 30 and the vert wall that's over on the other side. And my first little mini project is I'm going to be building this little kind of ladder section and an inside, like an arete on the inside here, just to have some holds that'll help us get up and in to the back of the wall. All right, so this first section is actually really simple. It's just 18 inches wide. And this is a sheet of plywood that I used kind of in my last wall as the same thing. It was used to go up. So I just had to cut this to the width, and it's already T-nutted. And then I'm just gonna slide it in there and screw it into place in various spots. And then next I'm gonna look for like a piece that will fit this triangle here. We'll just build it out only up to where we're going to go in. So I think it's about 5 feet high. And what I'm gonna do for that one is I'm actually gonna take maybe a rectangular piece and screw it into place. And then I'm gonna come over here on this side and draw a line and make it like exact so that it sits real flush against this. All right, so I've got this 5-foot sheet of plywood. This is spare plywood from one of the sections of Jack's wall. And it's not in a triangle, obviously. So what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna place it in here and screw it down temporarily. And I'll just come over on this side and literally draw the line. And then I'll take it back down and go cut it. And just like that, we've zipped it into place. So let's put it back in exactly where we had it before. It's kind of a tight corner to get the camera in, but now you can see we've got that triangle there. And so we'll be able to put holds all the way up here. And then we can even use this on some of these outer edges of this 15 degrees problems. But this will give us like a nice little ladder to be able to get back. All right, so we're continuing on with transitions here. And this is where it gets quite complicated. So I've got this gap here between the 30-degree wall and this vert wall here. Well, it looks like it's just a plain triangle and that I could just build one big sheet here. Because of the difference in like angle changes between here and here, what ends up happening is the connection piece changes its plane. It's like more steep or more of a sharp angle here the higher up you are. The further down you go, it gets less and less steep. So it makes it so that you can't just have like one flat plane of plywood in a quadrilateral form or anything like that, because then you would have to like twist the plywood, and plywood doesn't twist so well. The solution for these odd shapes is if you build something in a triangle. As much as I've tried to simplify this without using triangles, I do believe I will have to use triangles, which is no problem. I've done it before, but it just means that it's kind of tedious. So my plan is I'm going to just do it board by board. And so I'm going to start with the board that's going to connect up here at the top. That's going to go all the way across the top. This will be the top of this transition, and it's going to attach here underneath this metal joist and into the 30-degree wall. And then I'm going to measure down 4 feet, like a plumb line kind of 4 feet, or equidistant, I guess is the terminology. Can't just come 4 feet on any of these diagonals this way, because then it wouldn't quite be a full sheet of plywood. So my goal is to make this a full sheet of plywood and then just cut a diagonal into it. So when I cut a diagonal into it, now this quadrilateral shape, it's kind of a trapezoid shape, but there's a bend in it. So I'm just going to cut a diagonal into it. So then that trapezoid will be 2 triangles. All right, so I got this kind of weird cut here. I'm hoping and thinking that the 30-degree wall 2x4 will sit right in this notch. This calculating the angles that I need to cut the ends of these boards, that's also been a tricky spot, not just like figuring out how to get the most use out of the plywood. So we'll see how well I did on my first attempt here. I've not really been good at getting it first try every time, but we shall see. Okay, so it's actually not that bad. So I think I just have to take this other side off at a little bit sharper of an angle. Okay, while I'm up here, I brought up the other bit for the metal tapping screws, and I'm going to put a metal one into the joist. Basically anywhere where I can connect to the metal in a simple way, reinforcing things from different directions. All right, so then I just got this 4-foot chunk of wood here, and what I am doing / did is this is representing the width of a sheet of plywood. So my whole goal here is to use and reuse as much of the wood and the plywood from the old builds as possible. So I want to use a full sheet of plywood here at the top because it's pretty close to 8 feet wide. So what I did is this is 4 feet, like the width of a sheet of plywood. I'm just putting it up where I want it. And then I'm making it like plumb to the top of this board, like level, we'll call it. And then I'm pushing it in straight. So that will give me where I'm going to attach the next cross member board here. Then I'll have this trapezoid shape that I've been referring to. Like it'll look like this. And then I'm going to do a triangulation that comes down that way. I think I got my markings here. And then this one, I think I got the first try. It's a little bit more forgiving because on this left side, I get to rest it on top of existing framing. So I just measured the diagonal from there down to there, and it's 90 inches. So that's going to be my triangle. All right, and we got this one pretty much first try. I did have to nip a little bit off of this corner here to make sure that it sits flush. So these 2 triangles are going to be made up mainly of 1 sheet of plywood. And hopefully I can get as little waste as possible with that. So I might as well keep the momentum going. So what I did is I did the same thing here, measured about halfway down that board, and then found the spot where it would come straight down. And then I marked right here. Did the same thing over here. Found my 4-foot mark. It's just got to be close enough that I can get the 2 pieces of plywood to touch each other. But then, now I'm going to have a horizontal piece right here. All right, so now I got this one. And so then I got a triangle coming down this way. Could have a triangle coming down this way and have it change that slightly. That actually gives me some decisions. Yeah, I think I'm still going to come down this way. I'm going to do them all the same direction, I think. But it is fun thinking about that. And truly, I'm not even joking you, truly I got this one right the first try. It's not screwed in yet, but it's like so perfect that it just wedges right in there. So while it's in place, let's get that screwed in. So we're basically ready for plywood from there on down to here. All right, so now we're ready for the step where we're going to start cutting the plywood triangles and putting them up in this transition. So since these first 2 triangles here are essentially the majority of 1 sheet of plywood, I'm going to try and get the most out of that sheet of plywood and cut that one. So now I've got this spare straight edge plywood here, and I've got it marked at my distance that I need, 53 inches. And that's where it intersects the wood here, and it intersects the corner over here where I measured for my top angle. That gives me a line here. This marker sucks, but I think I can see it. So this one is the most interesting cut. I want this one to finish actually slightly above here. So it's not like a perfect triangle diff, technically. So now I need a really long straight edge. So now with my lines drawn, there are a few spots where the lines and the cuts are going to be right where there are T-nuts. So I do have to remove those T-nuts before I take the saw to this. And then the other thing I wanted to mention while I'm talking about these cuts is some of the cuts I'm going to take the saw and I'm going to turn the edge, like bevel the edge. So this cut over here, this line right here, is going to be the one that goes up flush, and I want it to be as flush as possible up against the 30-degree wall. And so I purposely did it like an extra inch longer, and then I'm going to bevel it backwards so that way it can kind of sit up against that wall and not leave much of a gap. This one over here I'm going to leave at 90 degrees, that's fine. And then these two cuts, so I'm actually going to cut this like once at like maybe like a 15-degree in cut, and then once the other way at like a 15-degree in cut. If I just do them as one flat cut, then what will happen is I'll have a crack. I won't be able to butt them up against each other fully. It'll be a crack. So if I cut them at like a slight 15-degree angle on both sides, then they'll kind of cinch up into each other. Again, hopefully all that makes sense as far as my thought process. I'm pre-planning as much as possible so that things will fit snugly. So for this first cut, I'm going to set it at 45 degrees. Pull it up to 45 degrees here. I'm going to set it back up at flat 0 degrees, or I guess 90 degrees is what some people would call it. So now I'm setting it up at like a slight 15-degree angle. I'll take 2 passes at this one then, one from each direction. All right, so in theory, these should fit. Let's see how good my theories are. All right, so the first go is, I'm gonna do the second one, not the very top one. And for the reason of, I want this to line up like as perfectly in the middle of this board as possible. That's like the one that the 2 boards are gonna connect to. So I want that to be like the optimal position. And then I do have some flex on the upper triangle on like how high it sits above that top board there. So I'm okay with that going over a little bit because it could be like a rounded edge and have like climbing hold up there. All right, that's pretty close to where I want it. I'm gonna put the clamps on now and then see if I need to make slight adjustments. It's looking really good though, if you want my opinion. So over here, I'm in the crease exactly where I want to be. And then I have about 50% of this. I guess I could come down slightly, and I may want to come down slightly. So we're gonna loosen this a little bit. That was more than slightly, Josh. I almost lost the whole board. Don't lose the whole board, Josh. I had it almost perfect, but I wanted to adjust it just ever so slightly, and then when I tried to adjust it slightly, it started falling down on me. All right, try there. All right, I think that's ready to screw in. All right, now we're gonna go for the second one. I don't know. This piece of wood has been in my family since Micah was born. This is 16-year-old climbing wall. Yeah, it's been used on my second wall, my third wall, my fourth wall, my fifth wall, and now sixth wall. All right, so that's in tight. What's interesting is because of the wood behind this, there is going to be a slight lip on here, so I might turn this into a climbing hold. I might just round this edge, and then we kind of have a crimp hold that's built into it. Because it is fitting snug, but it's because this angle change here. I underestimated how much this point was going to stick out, but when we sand this down, it'll be a kind of a cool little crimp edge built into the wall. I'm going to put another piece of framing behind here that this sideboard can connect to, because right now it's not able to connect to something. It's an easy fix, and it will make it aesthetically pleasing as well. All right, so now we're on to this next section. These two triangles here are going to come out of this chunk of this piece of plywood. So I've gone ahead and done my measurements and drawn my lines here again, and it looks like there's just a couple of T-nuts that need to come out. 1, 2, 3. Here we go, moment of truth for this one. All right, so now we got those 4 different triangles in there, and it just looks, this is one of the best fits I've ever done on triangles. I'll tell you, triangles are super hard, and they've given me the hardest time over the years, but like this one even fits so nice. Like there's a little bit of a sharp edge from that 45-degree cut, but it's lined up right with this wall, so as soon as I take a sander to it and just round that slightly there, it's gonna be so money. And other than that, that wall is looking good. I just got this one little triangle left down here. As annoying as that is, I have to do one more strip there. But it's pretty darn close, isn't it? All right, so all I got is this little strip here, and I'm running out of this gray painted, and I would like to not run out. I want to make sure that I have basically the same shades. I'm trying to kind of make it aesthetically pleasing. I really hope this turns out, because this is super annoying. I wouldn't even say it's like perfectionism. It's just like I want it to look pretty, and I've put in the time. So now it's got to turn out. Please, please, please fit. It's not 100% perfect, but it's pretty darn good. And overall, I would say it is very beautiful. This is very accurate. One of the better sets of triangles. The triangles, again, have been just a pain in the butt for so many times, but this is as close and as clean as I've ever gotten, and I am really pleased with it. So with this wall done, now I can head over to this section right here. So hopefully this video is helpful for you. It's one of the trickier sections, but we're on the home stretch, so I'll check you in just a second. So here we are now in this other little weird off section. Could I have made this easier to build and by just butting them up, these two walls up to each other? Certainly, I could have. All right. So that is really solid. And that is the first triangle of plywood is going to go up here. And now the moment of truth to see if this fits. I sure hope it does. This is just locking up. I'm not even ready to screw it in yet. I mean, I will be in a second, but... Nice. One triangle done on this wall. I'm pleased with how it's turning out though. It fits really nice and flush. All right, so we're back at it. We're going to be working on some triangles here. And you may notice that we started to throw some climbing holds up on. So in real lifetime, it's been a few weeks. We've definitely got distracted. I've definitely got distracted in that I wanted to start climbing on some stuff. We started working on some other parts of the gym, but this is the priority of this video. So in YouTube world, this is all happening chop, 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 chop. But we need to get after these triangles. So in the meantime, through these last few weeks, I have been brainstorming some ideas on how to make the triangles more easily, to make them clean, because I really want the accuracy and the smoothness of these transitions to be really, really well, the workmanship to be really quality. So I've been brainstorming some ideas on how I want to do the triangles a little bit better and more efficiently. And I think I came up with something. So this first chunk of triangle on this wall is already up there. It's good and it's pretty darn solid. I like how it went up there. It took a lot of finagling. For the remainder of this section down here, I don't want it to be so arduous. So what I decided to do is, instead of doing the 2x4 framing and then cutting the triangle of plywood to match, I want to take the triangle and put the triangle in place and then do the framing to match. So hopefully that makes sense. But essentially, the other reason why I'm doing it this way is because I'm reusing plywood and I want it to be kind of uniform. So this style of plywood or the color of plywood that I'm using here, I would like to use all the way down throughout. I'm going to try using the biggest chunks, or the biggest triangles possible in the plywood, and then I'm just going to match the 2x4s. What that means is I'm going to cut out this next triangle, which is going to be this whole section here, and it's going to come down way down to about here. It's going to be one of the bigger triangles. I'm going to get it in place without this 2x4 that I normally would have done right here. And then I'm going to place a furring strip 2x4 here that this side of the triangle can screw into. And then from behind, I'll do this 2x4 here. So I know that's kind of crazy explanation, but hopefully it all turns out exactly how I've planned it in my head, because I think this will work well. All right, so now we got this triangle here. I think it's the right size. We place it in here. Just kind of feel it out. All right, so that's there. So now I got this 2x4 and behind the wall here. I'm just gonna put this 2x4 behind this edge of the triangle, kind of press it into place. And now that gives me something to screw in this direction from. All right. So yeah, I feel that's really good. Got this small little gap up here, but I had a gap up there too, so pretty minor, but over here it's all really, really flush. So now I'll build the 2x4 that goes across here. And now we've got our board cut to length here. Put it in here from behind. It's paying off so far. So far so good, I'm pleased. And I got a few more triangles here. Hopefully I won't have to explain too much and we can just kind of time lapse through these remaining triangles. So now I've got this next piece in. It's on there solidly. There is this bit of like the wood meets, it kind of bends out, which means that the lip of this one sticks out. On the other wall way over there, I plan on just like rounding the edge and it'll be a nice little kind of crimp edge. And I could do that here as well, but it's like a slot. But what I might end up doing is taking these rails here that I've used in the past and like setting them right there. Actually, yeah, that feels awesome. So like I can get them in there and now that's a hold and it's like really classy looking. So I might do that. All right, that covers most of it. And then we'll sand this part. Looking pretty darn good though, isn't it? So we got another one down here. This one is another one where there's a kind of a severe angle change. So to smooth out this sharpish edge, I'm gonna do more rails like this. Honestly, I really like how this turned out. So I'm okay with this being this way. One more to go. All right, so this last one I cut, it's not quite a triangle. And I've tried to do this before, but I think I'm gonna be able to get it in there and bend it in place. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna put it in place on the bottoms where I want it. Like get this spot all where I want it over here. And then push it in and it's gonna bend slightly in this corner over here. It's a kind of a long shot, but I would rather have it be this way than have another triangle. Just gonna work my way down here systematically, and it should help me get closer and closer each time. Okay. Okay. Last two are gonna be the hardest ones probably, but we're gonna get it. I think we're done. And it's even mostly pretty. Again, I know it's not perfect and I had to do a few like rails here and here. But once I get it all sanded, dang. And the transitions from this wall over to this wall are just gonna be sweet. Now what I want to do next is I want to put something really special right up here. It's going to extend that 15-degree wall even higher up into the ceiling. And then depending on how things go, I may end up adding some more triangulation up here. All right, so I'm up here at the top left corner of the 15-degree wall and over by where this transition is. And like I said, I'm going to put something really special right here, something that's been on every single one of my climbing walls in the past. And that is this ninja wall right here. So this was one of the first pieces of plywood that I inherited, and I used it for my very first climbing wall. And then I've used it on every single real world climbing headquarters since then. As you can see, it's kind of got this odd shape because of all the little adjustments I've had to make it fit in those specific scenarios. And yet again today, I'm gonna have to make this slightly more specific. I'm gonna chop off the top here and chop off a little bit over on that angle, and it's gonna fit right up here. All right, so my plan here with this board is I gotta make kind of 3 chunks of cuts. This top here, I'm gonna nip off this kind of odd little tab here, and I also wanna cut it at a 30-degree angle. So the 30-degree angle is based on estimating 15-degree overhanging on the wall and then the negative 15 that's coming from the pitch of the roof. So that should let this sit up nice and flush up to the ceiling portion. It's going to help me with my method here. So I'm going to be installing this piece a little bit different than everything else. Instead of building the framing first, what I'm going to do is I'm going to put the plywood in place first and secure it at the bottom and the top in the position that I want it. So I'd like to have the plywood in place first, so then I can just kind of custom build the framing afterwards. All right, so I got this in place here, and I was just going to test fit it, but it fit so nicely, and it was such an ordeal to get it up here. So I'm going to leave it up here, and Jack's going to go in the back. Maybe hold it like right here. And I just figured I'd put it in right now so that I don't have to do it again. So now it's in place, and what we'll do is we'll do the framing behind it. So we're behind the wall here, and I have it screwed in at the top just through the plywood of the ceiling. So that's not fully what I want it to be. So what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be wedging in a support board that goes all the way across here into those two, and then we're going to do a board that connects up with the metal here. So now we got this board here across there for the top to attach to, and we got this is solid. It's into this piece of wood, it's into that metal, and it's into that piece of wood up there as well. All right, so now I had the framing behind here and the framing behind over here, but then I did the framing to support the ninja wall in the front here, and this is like a 2x12 that's just like custom fit to do this angle. So I have this ledge finish here. We'll be able to put some screw-on holds here. This is really, really solid now. It'll allow us to do another triangle right here. All right, so this should be the last triangle if I've got it right. There we go. Finally done with triangles. So finally I get to bust out the sander. I am super proud of how this turned out. I think as far as phase 1 goes, I'm all done adding chunks of wall. This is what the wall will look like in phase 1. I'm gonna bust out the sander and round off some of these sharper edges. The cool thing about that is there are some spots where the natural ending of certain pieces of wood here and here is going to end up being like these crimpy kind of holds. So the sanding is more for comfort on the rounding of the edges so that they can be used as holds. So it turns your wall into a feature of your climbing. All right, so that wraps up the extras, like the hard triangles and transitions, and even some of like the unique features of the wall. I love that. That's what you can do with your wall, is you can turn parts of the build into climbing holds and just do something unique. This was definitely an ordeal, but I love it, and Jack loves it as well. We're already having a good time setting on this wide compression as well as the one on the other side. So taking the time to do something like that is really panning out for us so far. I believe it will be worth the extra effort that went into it. This turned out to be the cleanest, even though I had some little minor imperfections that we were able to clean up. It did end up being the cleanest and most accurate, most seamless build I've ever done. And I'm really, really proud of it. And that is the culmination of the static walls that we've built. We've got the vert wall, we've got this transition wall, a 30-degree wall, another transition wall, and another 15-degree wall all the way over on the other side. The only videos remaining is going to be to feature our massive adjustable systems board that we have over here. You may have again seen it in the backgrounds of some things, but I'm excited to share with you how we built it. So to make sure you don't miss that video and any future amazing videos that we do here, make sure you clip into that subscribe button down there. I'll see you real soon.